do I become the best version of me? Raised by certain degrees, they say I'm blurting disease, cause I spit anti-establishment. This is battleship, I'm calling your number and letter, and I only do it to make you better. Negative mindsets just won't let up, and I'm constantly battling my predecessors, cause I get too fed up. But a scene when a scene brings pain, locks and chains, reduce the potential of human brains. I'm too insane, at least it's what they label me. I'd rather be labeled as crazy than stuck in the matrix. I got Asia chasing cause I'm making these statements. I'm participating in the emancipation of a nation under interrogation. See my determination as you turn in these pages. I will never ever be degraded. They want me to dumb it down and say the industry ain't ready for too pure of a sound, for too pure of a heart, for too much empathy. I will give it all till I empty me. This is my manifest destiny. Preferably dropping bombs over melodies. You feel it heavily, you're telling me. Watch out. But it brings a resistance. Please don't miss this. Consequence vicious. We need to destroy the traumas. Go back and heal for a better tomorrow. Face the pain that you want to avoid. Stick out your chest to raise up your voice. I will not bend. I will not break. Stand in my place and I won't be swayed. Mark my words, lives will be saved. And even after I die, my legacy will remain. My emotions run amok, I'm out of luck. What the flying flip is going on? I say I'm a king, but I'm showing pawn. My logic feels intoxicated. No love left cause my heart's been raided. Feeling jaded, want me medicated. Feeling like a fish cause I'm hooked and baited. And I can't find peace. I become my own worst enemy. Sipping Hennessy, feeling dead in me. If my pain were a woman, gotta let her free. Let it go. But she's holding on with a grip of death. The pain gets worse with every breath. I just wanna keep you in the dark so low. You feel it in your soul. Never see the light of day. You say, yeah, I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I don't like who I become. What have I done? I'm going numb, ain't having fun. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. Crazy is as crazy does. I catch myself trying to flirt with Lady Luck, but she just curves me. I'm worried, vision's blurry, feeling like death's coming early. You never get rid of me, even when you say that you're getting sick of me. Painted so vividly, making you sickening, feeling with misery, burning like Listerine. I spit on your grave, I'm taking control until you misbehave. The pain comes in waves, today I'm a slave, a trophy to gain, I'll put you on display. And laugh at your misfortune, laughing at your tears pouring, laughing at attempts of ignoring. Pieces foreign, the more you fight, the more you let me more in. This can't be life. Doc, help me out, I can no longer fight. I'm crying uncontrollably, I need a hold of me. What's life supposed to be? And I'm feeling suicidal. All my rivals got me quitting on survival. My heart needs to mend. I don't wanna kill myself, just want the pain to end. But it feels like an uphill battle. I see your misery with a broken paddle. I've journaled, have addictions. There's a hole in me cause something's missing. I'm in prison, in my mind. Gotta hear what's been left behind. EMDR, whatever it takes. If I don't see change, I swear I'm gonna break. I just wanna keep you in the dark so low. You feel it in your soul. Never see the light of day. You say, yeah, I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I don't like who I become. What have I done? I'm going numb, ain't having fun. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. I think I'm going crazy, 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 crazy. Keep hope alive. 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 Watch me do my work. Working hard to achieve my dreams, it's harder than it seems. Watch you do my work. Sky's the limit, gotta hit it till you fit it, revel in it. Watch you do my work. Hungry for change to have my name known, cause I say so while the days go. Watch you do my work, cause I stand for a purpose. Watch you work this, cause I'm working. Watch you do my work. Watch you working harder than they ever did. Spitting for the hearts of people that feeling irrelevant. Spitting for the hell of it, embracing all the elements. Music, having content that'll challenge your intelligence. This ain't for the faint to the heart. Mature folks thinking that I'm way too smart. Too mature for my age, wanna put me in the grave, but I need a safe face, cause I'm running my race. Running my race, even overweight. But you see me overweight, cause I'm stealing off your plate. And I'm feeling so great, even though I make mistakes. Do whatever it takes to make winning the Mason race. But you would never bury me. Talking bad about the man is like heresy. I'm fire like kerosene, apparently my words are like therapy. Watch you do my work. Working hard to achieve my dreams, it's harder than it seems. Watch you do my work. Sky's the limit, gotta hit it till you fit it, revel in it. Watch you do my work. Hungry for change to have my name known, cause I say so while the days go. Watch you do my work, cause I stand for a purpose. Watch you work this, cause I'm working. Watch you do my work. I don't look like a rapper, what they look like, what they sound like, why they sound bite. I'm too busy cruising in my lane, I don't need to buy fame, and this is why I came to put in work in the hearts of man. There's nothing harder than I like a martyr can. Watch you do my work, watch you do it well. Been through hell and I'm telling a story that's so compelling. It's got me screaming and yelling, negativism repelling, and ain't no dreams I'm selling, cause it gets so numb I'm rebelling. I work hard, you can tell, full of heart, raise a hell, cause you're gonna see me rock the scene like prophecy on a lock and key. It's gotta be something to write home about, cause I work with pride, I got a fire inside. Watch me do my work. Working hard to achieve my dreams, it's harder than it seems. Watch you do my work. Sky's the limit, gotta hit it till you fit it, revel in it. Watch you do my work. Hungry for change to have my name known, cause I say so while the days go. Watch you do my work, cause I stand for a purpose. Watch you work this, cause I'm working. Watch you do my work. Work. Watch you do my work. Watch you put in that work. Watch you do my work. Watch you put in that work. Watch you do my work. Watch you put in that work. Watch you do my work. Watch you do my work. Working hard to achieve my dreams, it's harder than it seems. Watch you do my work. Sky's the limit, gotta hit it till you fit it, revel in it. Watch you do my work. Hungry for change to have my name known, cause I say so while the days go. Watch you do my work, cause I stand for a purpose. Watch you work this, cause I'm working. Watch you do my work. Working hard to achieve my dreams, it's harder than it seems. Watch you do my work. Sky's the limit, gotta hit it till you fit it, revel in it. Watch you do my work. Hungry for change to have my name known, cause I say so while the days go. Watch you do my work, cause I stand for a purpose. Watch you work this, cause I'm working. Watch you do my work. Watch you do my work. Watch you put in that work. Watch you do my work. Watch you put in that. We have a problem. Uh-oh, there's a problem in the industry. You probably didn't think too many people would be into me. You want carbon copies? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint. It's a breaking point. Words so absurd that I'm breaking joints. Who's this brother in a suit jacket think he is? Don't he know that rappers ain't taking this serious? It's all about making hits, lyrics to the side. Humility isn't welcome cause we're talking about pride. Work. Watch you put in that work. Watch you do my work. Watch you do my work. Working hard to achieve my dreams, it's harder than it seems. Watch you do my work. Sky's the limit, gotta hit it till you fit it, revel in it. Watch you do my work. Hungry for change to have my name known, cause I say so while the days go. Watch you do my work, cause I stand for a purpose. Watch you work this, cause I'm working. Watch you do my work. Working hard to achieve my dreams, it's harder than it seems. Watch you do my work. Sky's the limit, gotta hit it till you fit it, revel in it. Watch you do my work. Hungry for change to have my name known, cause I say so while the days go. Watch you do my work, Cause I say it for a purpose. Won't you work this? Cause I'm worth it. Won't you do my work? Work, work, work. Won't you do my work? Work, work. Won't you put in that work, work, work. Won't you do my work, work, work. Won't you put in that? We have a problem. Uh-oh, there's a problem in the industry. You probably didn't think too many people would be into me. You want carbon copies? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint. It's a breaking point. Words so absurd that I'm breaking joints. Who's this brother in a suit jacket think he is? Don't he know that rappers ain't taking this serious? It's all about making hits, lyrics to the side. Humility isn't welcome cause we're talking about pride. My bad, I must have missed Hey folks, welcome to Therapy Thursdays. We made it another week. I'm so happy to be here. I hope you guys are happy to be here. I am your host as always, Marcus Alexander Velasquez. Therapy Thursdays is where we bring the therapist to you and give you access to real licensed therapists that do this on a daily basis, that talk the talk and walk the walk. If you are here for the first time for Therapy Thursdays is a really cool podcast, if I can say so myself. But I love the atmosphere of this podcast. It is for people who are willing to, first off, be honest with themselves, and secondly, want change, and thirdly, are willing to put in the work. And the reason I believe in therapy so much is because I'm a product of therapy. I've been to therapy on and off for about 6-7 years. I am not a licensed therapist, which is why I have all my guests here, so they can give you the tried, tested, credible information. But what I can give you from my perspective is someone who's been a product of therapy, who's gone for several years, and who has grown tremendously from it, to the point where I believe in it so much that I'm here creating a podcast to share that information with you. So I'm happy you're here. I hope you're here with an open mind, an open heart. Therapy is a beautiful tool. Therapy is, a lot of people have misinformation when it comes to therapy, or some people just literally don't know anything about therapy. They may have heard about it, but they think it's only for one specific demographic of people, or they saw a misrepresentation in media where there was a therapist just sitting there constantly saying, well, how does that make you feel? That's not real therapy. So the purpose of the show is to give you a taste of therapy. The show in and of itself is not therapy, but it is meant to give you a taste of therapy, so that we can motivate you and inspire you to want to sign up for formal therapy. All the guests you see on our show are licensed therapists, and they are all available to you for, at minimum, contacting them. Some of them are taking on new clients, but at minimum, I know they're all open to being contacted. And if they're busy, I'm sure they're more than willing to pass you off to someone else who's not so busy. But if you look in the description of this live stream, there is a Google Drive link. Please take advantage of that link. When you click that link, it will open up a spreadsheet that has all the contact information for all of our guest therapists. And I mean all their contact information, their name, their phone number, email address, the name of their practice,
their any specialties they have, the type of insurances they take, how much they charge, do they do telehealth? I did the work for you. So please just take advantage of this. Reach out to people. Do not be shy. At the end of the day, we all have something we can work on. I feel like weakness is part of the human condition. So the sooner we acknowledge it, the sooner we can start healing and become better people. The better people we are, the better we are to other people. And the better we are, at the end of the day, the better society becomes, because we are society. So yeah, all that spiel to say all that. Happy that you guys are here. Today's topic will be a wonderful one, as they always are. Today's topic is really interesting. We're talking about social anxiety. I had an episode before about anxiety, but we are going to dive deep into a specific type of anxiety, which is social anxiety. This is something I have and continue to struggle with. And it's funny because I've been a performer for 18 years. I've been a public speaker. I've done a TED Talk. So some people think that I don't struggle with anxiety because I'm used to being in the public eye and doing large events. And let me tell you, anxiety is real. Seriously, like there are times where once I hit the stage, I'm calm, I'm in my zone, but all the way up till 2 seconds prior to hitting the stage, I can be nervous, I can be anxious, my toes can be curling in my shoes. So social anxiety is a real thing, and I'm really excited to talk about it, especially with our guest, who I'm going to bring on right now. Right before I bring her on, I'm going to read our disclaimer for the show. This show is for informational purposes only. You are completely responsible for what you do with the information presented, and myself and all of our guests cannot be held liable for any misuse or misunderstanding of the information presented. Please always consult a trained mental health professional before making any decisions regarding treatment of yourself and others. Yeah, so I'm really excited to get this episode going. I am going to bring in our guest. I really hope I don't butcher her last name. She can correct me if I do, but she is Asta Manana. She'll correct me when I bring her on, but I'm going to bring her on right now.
Hi.
Hey, Asta, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. How did I do with pronouncing your last name?
But you know what? You pronounce the first name quite well. The last name, a little butchered, but it's okay. I get that all the time. So
Okay, let us know how to properly say your name.
Clemaite?
Clemaite.
Yeah. But
Very
the
cool.
first name you said that so properly. I can't complain about that.
Okay.
Usually I get
go.
like Asta.
Wow.
So you said it right.
Asta.
Very
Okay,
well.
cool. It's
Yeah.
funny because I am Puerto Rican, but unfortunately I speak very minimal Spanish. But the way I pronounce your name is the same way I would pronounce like Asta Manana, which is like see you tomorrow. So that's probably why it rolled off the tongue so easily. But thank you for being here. How are you today?
I am great. Actually, you were talking about having social anxiety before your performances. I was having anxiety waiting for this,
Nice.
what you were talking about, anticipation anxiety. It's real. I mean, for therapists or for performers, for anyone really. So yeah, my toes were curling right I was waiting to get on the podcast. So
Awesome.
yeah,
So
I'm
you're
glad to talk
in it
about
right now. You're living the social anxiety.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. If you can give us a short introduction to who you are, how long you've been in practice, any specific topics that you focus on or feel like a real passion for. And then lastly, my favorite question is what intrigued you to want to become a therapist in the first place?
Okay. Well, Marcus, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
So a little bit about myself. I am originally from Lithuania.
Cool.
Yeah. So I moved to United States when I was 21, and I studied psychology in Lithuania. And I got to study kind of both schools of thought. In Lithuania, we practice a little bit more what we call psychoanalysis.
Okay.
And in the States, it's a little bit more cognitive behavioral driven therapies here. So I got to experience both at school. And after moving here, I finished my master's degree in psychology. I completed the internship. I worked with chronically ill clients at the local mental health center.
Hmm.
And I also, so I'm full disclosure, workaholic. Okay. So I always had like 3 jobs. And I worked at different hospitals, emergency room. In Lithuania, I worked with children in a suicide helpline.
Hmm.
I worked at psychiatric hospital back in Lithuania as well. So that was quite an experience.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and here I worked at different kind of hospitals, like inner city hospitals, and then Alexian Brothers, more like suburban, cushy, cushy hospitals, if
Okay.
you say. So I pretty much seen it all, emergency room, and worked for insurance company. And in 2014, I opened my private practice, Beautiful Mind Therapy. And
Awesome. Congrats.
thank you. And it's going well. I have a couple therapists working with me,
Nice.
and yeah, it's, I tell my clients, I wish everyone would be doing the job. Like, I feel like this is my calling, and I go to work every day, and I feel really good about my job and what I do. And
That's
I
great.
wish everyone would have that opportunity.
That's the dream. Yeah. Do you have any specialties that you focus on?
I would say most of my clients are anxiety, depression. I really enjoy working with eating disorders.
Hmm.
I got my first encounter with eating disorder clients at Alexian Brothers. I worked inpatient unit, and I kind of really liked that population. And then I approached my manager at I was working at mental health center, and I said, hey, do you mind if I like kind of start like outpatient program for that? And they let me do that. So I did outpatient program. I did an intake, assessments for eating disorders, and later on trainings. So I'm very familiar with that, overeating,
Awesome.
anorexia and binge eating disorder. So I really feel great about that. But I would say biggest bulk of my clients would be anxiety and depression, because I feel like that's what most people really deal with.
Okay,
Um,
great. And then my favorite question, is there a singular event or maybe something that happened in your life that really spurred you on to want to become a therapist in the first place?
I wish I would have a good story for you, but I don't. I was good at school, and I was kind of picking where to go to study, and that sounded really cool and interesting. And I did volunteer at a drug prevention program, and that was really kind of fun. So I thought, oh, why not try psychology? And I think, my both of my parents were mechanical engineers, and they're
Wow.
like, we want you to be an engineer. And being an awesome teenager, I was like, absolutely not, I will go the opposite of what you're telling me. So that's
Wow.
how I landed
So
psychology.
now you're an engineer of minds.
Yes.
Yes. I love
I
it.
like that,
You can
Marcus.
you can quote me on that one. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your story. We're really happy that you're here. For those that are watching on YouTube, there is a live chat portion right underneath the video. Please, one of the benefits of this show is that you get to ask questions live to our therapists and get answers in the moment. So please take advantage of that platform. Please do not be embarrassed. Just come freely. This is a judgment-free zone. We're all here to become the best versions of ourselves, no matter how cheesy that sounds. So please type any questions, comments you may have. We would be happy to get the answers to that. But let's dive into today's topic. I'm really excited about it. So we are talking today about social anxiety. So first and foremost, I want to make sure we have appropriate definitions of our topics. So first one up, Asta, if you wouldn't mind, please defining social anxiety.
Well, social anxiety is basically a fear of being in public, fear of public speaking, performance that you mentioned. Um, I feel like a big component of that is fear of being judged by others, of messing up, or somehow embarrassing yourself. So social anxiety, I think it could translate into a lot of settings, not just public speaking, but I have clients who struggle even leaving their home, because they're so anxious, and they have this social anxiety. So I think that kind of a definition of social anxiety.
Okay. That is very true. The way you defined it, I lived through that and continue to live through that. Yeah, it definitely. At least for me, I can only speak on my behalf. Embarrassment is a big part of it. That's one of the worst things you can do to someone who suffers from social anxiety is embarrass them publicly. Woo. That is not good. That's the best way to ruin a relationship right there.
Yep.
So yeah, it's fear of judgment. It's fear of wondering what people are going to say and how they're going to react, and it's not fun. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Or even just like how would people look at me sometimes, right?
Yeah.
If I dress a certain way, if I drive a certain way, if I drive a certain car, what would they think of me? Would they judge me, my parents? Would they think I'm stupid, right?
Yep.
If I don't say enough, do they think I'm weird?
Yeah, that all makes sense. Those all,
Mm-hmm.
I think all those thoughts have passed through my mind at least once in my life.
Sure. And then you have another kind of layer to that where you have agoraphobia, where because of social anxiety, people are even afraid to leave their home because the fear of being judged is so tremendous. They much rather would stay at home in a safe environment. And if they go to like a mall, for example, that seems extremely overwhelming and
Yeah.
dangerous, and people freak out and run away and go home
Absolutely.
and safe. So
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Awesome. So our next question is, what are the signs and symptoms of social anxiety disorder? And I'd like to go through these because if there's anyone watching right now that may think that they have some of these symptoms, it's, for me, at least in my experience, you can't really attack something until you are able to name it. So if people figure out, oh man, this is what I've suffered with for so many years, it's called social anxiety. So if you can let us know the signs and symptoms of social anxiety disorder.
So it could be very mild. Mild social anxiety, I would perceive somebody like what you just mentioned. I'm about to go to public speaking and I'm having a reaction to that. To me, that's a pretty mild, appropriate reaction. We do want some level of anxiety before public speaking or performance. That's actually pretty healthy. That's normal. And like you mentioned, once you got on the stage, it kind of went away. You're in your own element,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
Same here. I was waiting for this podcast to start. I'm talking to you now. I'm not really freaking out. I'm feeling quite fine, right?
Awesome.
So that's a mild description of social anxiety. You had anticipation anxiety. You went to the event. You got through it. You're feeling fine. More extreme example would be, I am sitting here waiting for the podcast. I say, I can't do this. I'm having panic-like symptoms, like I can't breathe. I feel dizzy. My mind is blank. You asking me a question. I'm sitting here looking at you like I'm a dead fish. And then I log off real quick. And then your podcast is ruined for the night. So that would be the more severe. Or you are about to get on the stage and then you just say, I can't do that. You just don't show up. So that's the more severe example of it. There are things in between, such as avoiding going to parties, avoiding talking to people. You're going to a store and somebody says something to you and you're just like, I don't want to talk. Sometimes people have avoidant eye contact.
Yep.
Right? The hoodies. And actually hoodies and masks help people hide, and sunglasses.
Very true.
So if you see somebody in the street with that kind of look, then I look at them, I always think might be social anxiety. That's just a physical manifestation of social anxiety sometimes, right?
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a time when I thought was really interesting. I've only seen it once. Clearly, people wear headphones all the time. They're in their zone. They're listening to music. I remember seeing this gentleman sitting in a booth at a restaurant with headphones on. And I was like, wow, he really does not want to be bothered. So thinking of that, like that's a means of avoiding contact with people, having headphones on in public too.
Yep, that could have been my client with a homework of going to a restaurant alone. And we will talk about treatment a little bit more, but part of the treatment for this would be exposure, and he might just be doing an exposure with the headphones on. The next part of the homework would have been, once you are able to go to the restaurant, sit down by yourself, have a meal with headphones on. The next stage would be for me to say, okay, let's try 15 minutes about the headphones. Can you get through that? So that's a basic principle of exposure. So that what you've seen at the restaurant could have been a really good homework.
Cool. I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know. You mentioned something in your answer. Like I said, I had a previous episode on anxiety, even though we're getting specifically into social anxiety. But you mentioned, and I think this is a good point to bring up again, that there are actually healthy amounts of anxiety. So anxiety in itself is not inherently bad. I think it's the extreme versions of it where it starts to hold us back and limit our life. But can you let us know some of the benefits of having a healthy level of anxiety?
So I have this conversation a lot with my clients, not only about anxiety, but, really any type of difficulties, depression, postpartum depression. Then I talk about it. Like, we always think like we just want to get rid of it, but what is good about it? Sometimes that's my question. And people are like, what do you mean, Asta? Anxiety, there's nothing good about it. But generally, then I ask this question, the answers what come up to me are, I'm intelligent, right? Then you're intelligent, you play out 100 scenarios what could happen in the one given time. So like today, right, if you are an anxious person before this podcast, you could have played out different scenarios what could have happened. What if she has bad reception? What if I don't have a different guest? What do I do? What do I talk about? Do I have a backup plan? I mean, right?
A lot of that did happen. You
right?
logged in 2 minutes before the start time, so I was a little nervous and had some anxiety going on.
Exactly. And then in those 2 minutes, I'm sure the multiple plans formed in your head about what you would do if 700 Asta is not here, right?
Correct. Yep.
But then you think about it, that anxiety was helping you save the show if I wouldn't have showed up.
True.
Right? So there's a lot of good problem solving skills, what happens if anxiety. So I always say you have to be smart in order to experience anxiety, because otherwise you just wouldn't. You wouldn't be thinking about these 100 scenarios.
That's cool.
Another thing what I think comes out of anxiety is values, right? You are a hard worker. You are a hardworking person who wants to have a good show. Your value is, I care about my listeners. I want to provide a good product. I don't want to, disappoint people. I don't want to disappoint myself. So then you look behind it, behind the anxiety, you just want to do a good job.
Yep.
So to me, then I see anxious people, there's a lot of goodness in that. I want to perform well. Sometimes it gets to perfectionistic scenarios, but behind perfectionism, you also have somebody who just wants to do a really, really good job, impress other people, not disappoint themselves, not disappoint their parents, not disappoint their spouses.
Yeah.
My husband is watching right now. I'm like, okay. I hope I'm doing well.
Hello, husband.
Right. But then you think about it, anxiety is associated with a lot of good things.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Thank you for letting us know that. We have a question. I'm going to throw it on the screen right now. Enrique says, great conversation. Is social anxiety something that you can overcome? Number one, and then can you overcome it without medications?
Great question, Enrique. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of hope. And let me give you an example. I won't name people. I won't share many details, but I had a patient who came in with very severe anxiety, among other things, like fear of flying, fear of vomiting in public. Wow. And which also comes back to social anxiety, because he was afraid of embarrassment. And, one of the things was he just couldn't go to the mall, Woodville Mall. He, Bath and Body Works, I think he had an episode where he was standing in line. It was very hot. There were a lot of people. It was a sale. And he just couldn't handle that. And he had to leave the store along with his children, which was very embarrassing to him. He said, I was embarrassed in front of my children. I was embarrassed in front of everybody. Yeah. And he just fled the store, went home, and went to bed. Wow. So, after that episode, he never came back to Woodfield. He hasn't been back in Woodfield for about a year.
Yeah.
And he came to see me and he said, Asta, my value is I want to go where I want to go without any fear. And I want to take my children there. I want to go to activities. So we worked for a couple months and we started kind of slow. And he was able to go to malls, Targets, Sam's Club.
Nice.
Right. So, but he did a lot, like what you mentioned initially about podcasts being for people who want to do the work.
Right.
He was the one who did a lot of work. He did every homework I gave him.
That's
and he
great.
was extremely successful. Extremely
Awesome.
successful.
Good for him. That's great. Would you mind addressing the second question? Because there is medication that's involved with anxiety. It's definitely something to talk about. I don't think it should be the initial solution, I would say. I definitely believe in medication when it comes to certain mental health issues. And there are definite benefits for it. But I know that some certain people are either afraid of it. Like even me, myself, initially, when my first therapist suggested some medication for me, I immediately said no. I was like, nope, I've heard about all this stuff, all the side effects. I already got enough problems. I don't want to add more problems to my plate. Like I'm good. So I'm familiar with that. So if you can talk about like the benefits of medication when it comes to anxiety, social anxiety in particular, and kind of at what point do you think a person should get to that medication should become an option?
I'm very much against medication for social anxieties. Okay. I'm going to be, that's not only my personal, but also professional.
Okay.
If people call me and say, I am struggling with panic attacks, social anxiety, agoraphobia, I would never suggest medication first because I do believe in therapy. And I also believe in, I just don't want people being on medications for the rest of their life. That's just not what I want for them. And I think if there is a situation where somebody's struggling, we're talking extreme. Like if somebody says, Asta, I can't do public speaking, to me, that's like, okay, we can work through that without medications.
Yeah.
If somebody's struggling to leave their home, maybe some little Xanax 0.25 we can consider just to get them out of the house for the first time to just do exposure. But usually I am really against medications. I have clients with severe cases, and I feel like if you do good therapy and if they do your treatment plan, it's pretty manageable without medication. So usually, like you mentioned, there are other mental health illnesses where I think medications could really help. If somebody is going through grief process, for example, and they're very depressed and anxious, I would recommend sometimes anti-anxiety medications just to get through them through the funeral or stressful event, but we're talking very specific events. And, I was just talking to my client today, and, she's going through a pretty exaggerated anxiety and after the shootings. She's struggling with the fact that she needs to go out and do shopping. And, she said, Asta, do you think I should be on anti-anxiety medications? And I said, no. No. So not a fan of meds. I think especially this kind of disorder could be treated with mental health therapy. So
awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you, Enrique, for the question. Again, if anyone else has any comments or questions, please do not be shy. Type them in the live chat there underneath your YouTube video screen. So please bring forth any questions, comments you have. In the meantime, we will move on to our next question. What are the causes of social anxiety in both children and adults?
Yeah. So, for example, the dimension I just mentioned about the shooting. I had 2 clients this week who reached out about these situations. They said, I'm scared to leave my home. Wow. If people can be having a good time at a parade and this happens, or at school, the Michigan, the Texas shooting, I mean, that triggered a lot of phone calls from my clients because people are just so scared of being in public. It's one of the biggest triggers for social anxiety, don't you think?
Yeah.
So that's just for adults. Sometimes I see clients who are going through anxiety because of alcohol withdrawal or drug withdrawal. So that could just be, that could induce anxiety, which leads to social anxiety. In children, sometimes temperament what they're born with, I think it affects it if a kid is a little shyer, if the parents are overly protective, overly critical, that could establish an environment for having social anxiety. In terms of environment for children, I'm sure, I don't know if you have friends or if you have kids, but during COVID, a lot of the kids were sitting on iPhones and playing video games and TV because parents had to work and they couldn't parent as much. And, the kids were just left to their own devices. And I think that really bred to a lot of social anxiety in children because they just, these 2-3 years, they didn't have a chance to develop social skills.
Yeah.
And interact and have normal human interactions like us. Well, adults too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of extroverts because of the pandemic having issues being around people now afterward. Like they had to get back in the flow of being around other people.
I know. I get irritated. I was flying recently. I was like, what's going on with these people? Am I that just more irritated, or this is just ridiculous? Some of the stuff I've seen. I'm like, I don't remember people being that rude, but apparently.
Wow.
But so if I would take it very personally, it could lead to social anxiety and not wanting to fly and sit at home. Another route for social anxiety could be conflicts at home. Between parents. Sometimes, depending on the age of the child, developmentally are more prone to kind of feeling like it's their own fault. And if they go to school, they're sitting, processing it, they're being quiet because there's just a lot going on, in terms of like what happens when I get home, abuse, of course, sexual, physical, emotional. If that's in your background, socially, you're not going to be very engaged or participate, and that could lead to bullying as well in schools for children. In terms of adults, I think work stress could lead to social anxiety, conflicts with family members, relationships with spouses or significant others, relationship with children can cause anxiety. I think sometimes oversensitivity to criticism, for example, from your boss. If your boss says, hey, Marcus, can you start the podcast like 5 minutes early and make sure all of your guests are 5 minutes early? And then you just say like, that's not realistic. But I think my boss is just looking for a way to fire me, for example, right? So overly being sensitive to any sort of criticism could be affecting social anxiety. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I want to bring up another question that I didn't have prepared beforehand because we're talking about parents with their children, and we might have some parents watching now. So we talked about what can trigger anxiety in children. Do you have any suggestions on what parents can do to the best of their abilities to help make sure that their children do not develop anxiety, and in particular social anxiety?
Yeah. I'm a parent. I have a 7-year-old. So I really feel the parents out there, especially working parents who have kids at home. It's extremely hard. And, it's summertime. My daughter is at home and we decided not to let her go to like any camps. So I do home all day and I have to work. I have clients to see, I have emails, I have business to run. So it's extremely difficult. And I really find myself sometimes just wanting to give her the iPad or the games, but don't, because that is one of, I think, biggest influences on our children. And, they need to have the social interaction. So, maybe signing them up for clubs or signing them up for more social activities and just kind of, I talk about this like exposure. So if you have a kid who is shy and who is physically timid, I say, put them in the karate, put them in the sports, build that physical strength,
Yeah.
you know.
That's
So
great.
I'm a big proponent of like physical activities for children, extracurriculum activities, and if you can get them out of the house any way possible, please. Um, because I do think kids really start lacking that
Mm,
social skills,
yeah.
and it just really kind of trickles down in life, you know.
For sure. You keep making comments that make me think of more questions. So you brought up a topic that I want to talk while we're talking about, and you mentioned it, which is the use of electronics. Do you think like the more often that children use electronics that affects their anxiety or increases it or makes it
Yeah,
worse?
yeah.
Mm,
I mean, it's real. Like, I was really busy and I gave my daughter extra iPad. I mean, the attitude and the need, like, I feel like it's just addiction. You know,
mm,
I saw her going through withdrawal symptoms. Seriously, she was like
wow.
irritated, angry. She's like, I want my iPad now. And I was like, who are you? Like, this is not my precious daughter. You know, like, just because think about it, there are millions spent on these games.
Mm,
I mean, I was hooked up to Final Fantasy 14 or 16 or whatever, right?
nice.
But then I was, you know, breastfeeding my daughter. I had to pump. That was 4 hours of pumping. I was bored, clicked on a link, and, you know, 2 months later, I have an addiction.
Wow.
I don't have it anymore, but I mean, I definitely understand the process.
Yeah.
And there are psychologists behind these apps, behind these games, whose sole job is to make sure you come back to this game, right?
Wow.
It's not a secret. So,
Wow.
I mean, same with kids. It's addictive. It's fun. It's really much more fun than dealing with mom,
Mm,
because what mom is going to say, go clean your room, go do your homework. That's no fun.
right.
So I do think it has to be a balance. I'm not like against iPads or at all. Like, yes, you can use it appropriately, but excessive use could definitely lead to lack of social skills and social anxiety.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for diving into that. We have another comments and questions from YouTube from Miss Kings. She says, I love that you practice actual therapy and don't promote drugs to treat social anxiety. Would you suggest prayer and or meditation as part of therapy?
Hmm. You know, I'm a big fan of YouTube, and there are a lot of meditations you can look up. I can do some of, like, I just can't do them with my clients because I think I sound ridiculous. I have an accent and then I speak, I'm just like, please relax, and I have this like almost German accent. I
Nice.
don't know, I just feel like I'm like self-conscious, so I don't do them with my clients, but I do give homework. And you know, I say, go Google whatever, you know, there's a progressive muscle relaxation is really good.
There
You
you go.
basically, you know, take turns on tensing and relaxing your muscles and physically tiring yourself. I think that's very great. You know, or just like sometimes the best meditation is walking, for example, right?
Mm,
I know I have some clients who say my meditation is cooking. So you have to look at meditation and not just sitting in a mountain somewhere
mm,
and just breathing. You know, sometimes meditation could be many things. Meditation could be running. Um, and I also, I don't know if I should share this, but a lot of my clients really like this. I'm not going to swear, but I'm going to say it. FUCK meditation. If you Google it, it's great. It's like rage meditation.
wow.
I mean, a lot of my clients love it. It's kind of funny to me, but it really
Okay.
works. You should Google it, Marcus. It's quite impressive. It's
Nice.
funny, but I really I see why it works, because it's kind of anger driven,
Mm,
and if you see the world like da da da, so look it up. It's kind of fun, but because I don't think the regular meditation always speaks to clients. You know.
okay. That kind of reminds me of a rage room. Are you familiar with a rage
Yeah,
room?
yeah.
Yeah, where you just go and break stuff.
Not not bad idea.
Yeah.
Seriously,
In a
you know.
controlled environment, not a bad idea at all.
Not a bad idea at all.
Yeah.
So I had some
Awesome.
some clients to go there.
Very cool. Yeah,
Mhm.
my wife wanted to attend one, so
You should
hopefully
go.
we'll go to one in the future soon. Yeah, for sure. Miss Kings, thank you for your comment and your question. Again, anybody on YouTube, this is your time. If you have any questions or comments on the topic at hand or anything mental health related, please type it in the chat. We'd love to talk about it. So, Asta, when someone has social anxiety, what situations, thoughts, or events tend to trigger the anxiety?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned a little bit of that, like, let's say a boss saying a comment. For example, I had that one. Then I was working on a hospital. My boss said, I need to talk to you after your shift. That was the
Mm.
longest shift I had. I remember I was sitting
Mhm.
there thinking, oh my God, am I fired? If I am fired, where I'm going to be applying, what's going to happen. And
Yep.
then I go talk to her and she said, I just want to let you know the client really gave a good feedback. So we just want to let you know you're doing a great job. And I was like, seriously, 8 hours of torture for this? Why couldn't
Wow.
you just tell me, right?
Right.
But it was a trigger. I mean, my anxiety was 10 out of 10 the whole 8 hours. Well, not
Wow.
the whole, but you know what I'm saying? It was really,
Right.
really high.
Wow.
Um, Another trigger could be conflict with a coworker, right? Somebody says I don't feel like you're doing a good job.
Mm.
Huge um, cause for anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, Another one could be physical illness, right? So sometimes having a physical diagnosis could lead to extreme anxiety because I feel like we are brushing off of death sometimes.
Mm.
Cancer diagnosis, some sort of surgery. I mean, before I went to deliver my daughter, very, very anxious, very, very anxious because I'm like, being realistic, a lot of births go wrong. So what if I die, right? So these brush offs with death could lead to um, social anxiety or anxiety in general.
Yeah.
You know,
I know that there is a huge connection between our mental health and our physical health. What are some of the physical reactions to anxiety and social anxiety?
well, some you mentioned, right? You said your toes were curling up
Mm-hmm.
before
Yeah.
speaking. I think a lot of times people experience shortness of breath,
Mm.
lightheadedness, dizziness, dry mouth, um, even itching. I had people who say I have itching, and then you have hives. Sometimes extreme cases, but you can still have hives from anxiety.
Yeah.
Upset stomach leading to diarrhea or constipation. Sometimes people have what they describe tingling in hands and feet. Have you had that?
I
It's
have.
like needles.
Yeah.
Um, Tension in the shoulders, of course. Um, the kind of cognitive things where you just blank, you can't think straight, or sometimes you have so many racing thoughts you can't
Mm.
even pinpoint one thought.
Mm.
um, Difficulty with kind of sitting still, fidgeting, right? Walking, fidgeting with hands. Of course, nail biting, it's a big one.
Mm.
Um, and it could develop into what we call a trichotillomania, which is pulling eyebrows, a lot of times
Mm.
eyelashes, pulling hair out. That is anxiety. Um, so that's kind of the physical symptoms. And when I talk to my people who are going through withdrawal from drugs or alcohol or even caffeine, that's the withdrawal symptoms we generally see.
Mm.
Sometimes you have like sensitivity to light or noise, things annoy you. Like I know you have a ring, right? So if you have if you are very anxious, sometimes the light can be really annoying. So we have to tone it down.
Wow.
So yeah, just a
Very
few,
cool. Just a few. Yeah.
just a
No, that was
few,
great.
Marcus.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And like I said, I resonated with a lot of those myself as well. Hopefully, our guests enjoyed that list too. Because if they suffer with some of those things now, they kind of know where it comes from. Awesome. So, we talked a lot about what social anxiety is, where it comes from. So, let's talk about the good stuff and let's talk about how we can heal from that. So, what is the best treatment, if there is a best treatment for social anxiety?
So I can speak up for myself, right? So the way, if somebody comes in, let's say you came to me today, Marcus, and my treatment plan in my head would be, first of all, I want to rule out any physical illnesses for anxiety, because sometimes physical illness can manifest itself with, as anxiety. So we want to make sure I'm not treating something what's actually is physical. So that's my biggest thing. So all of my clients get full workup. And sometimes I even ask for the progress notes from the doctor because I want to see what it says. I want to see, and I'm pretty specific. I'm like, I want vitamin D. I want your thyroid levels. I want like full workup.
Wow.
And if I see any issues, or if a doctor, of course, sees any issues, they need to be addressed. Like vitamin D can cause depression. So why not run a vitamin D test and see what it is?
You are very thorough.
Oh, yeah. Another thing I noticed lately, COVID. So I had a couple clients who I seen years ago discharged doing well, call me frantically saying, I had COVID, and about 1 to 2 months later, they have started experiencing extreme anxiety and extreme depression after the physical symptoms subsided. So I'm not sure if there's something related to COVID. I'm not a doctor, but I seen the trend. It could also be related to, for a very long time, people thought I have COVID, so I'm dying. That's it. So maybe it could just be brushing off of death and this existential crisis. And that's why people are experiencing anxiety and depression. Yeah. I don't know, but full workup is great.
That's great. Thank you for that. We have a comment from YouTube, which I love the name. It's Alvin and the Pit Monks. And they left a comment saying very informative. Awesome. I'm glad you guys are.
Alvin.
Yeah, great. Glad you tuned in. Glad you're enjoying the content.
So the first one is the physical, right? And then after that, I would want to get your baseline. So I would say, hey, I want you to track how anxious you are. Maybe even do like a rating, 0 to 10, 10 like you're dying, 0 is nothing, anxiety. And then I want to look at specific situations which you are get anxious about. Podcast, public speaking, going for job interviews, social interactions with friends, interactions with your child, school performance, those kind of things. So I want to look at the whole picture to see where you get anxious.
Okay. And
depending what is going on, we could either establish a cognitive behavioral treatment plan, ACT, acceptance and commitments treatment. We can do, address the physical symptoms. We can do physical activity. So many options for treatment, depending on the particular triggers you have.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for that. So you mentioned cognitive behavioral therapy. Can you dive into that a little bit and let us know some more details about that?
Sure. So CBT, it's kind of like a golden standard. I feel like in the United States, it's insurance love it because it's very measurable. I sometimes love it. But so it's basically talks about your cognitions, which is your thoughts, behaviors, and feelings are interconnected. If you see a little triangle, the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, that's the CBT. And what it's saying is, if you feel sad about something, you're going to tell yourself, you might be saying to yourself, I am nobody, I can't go out, people will judge me, I will not be successful. And that leads to behavior, which is avoidance and isolation, which leads to more feelings, increased depression, feeling lack of energy, feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness. And then you say, oh, you see how hopeless I am? There's no way for me to leave this home. I will never be social. I will never have friends. I will never be an amazing person, partner, son, whoever. And then that leads to even more isolation. And if your friend calls you, you just look at the phone and you say, I will call him next time.
Wow.
Blah, 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 blah. Right.
And
so that's cognitive behavior.
Around we go.
Yeah. And it was developed by Aaron Beck in, I think it was 60s. And I was fortunate enough to go to his training.
Cool.
Yeah, so I learned from the greatest, and now his daughter's continuing the CBT school. But it's a great tool.
Great. So, clearly, and it's in the title of this show, Therapy Thursday. So we thoroughly believe in therapy and believe that therapy can effectively help people with anxiety and social anxiety. But if you can give us some practical tips and tricks, what life changes we can make to help manage social anxiety, that'd be great.
Hmm. So I'm going to say something you're not going to want to hear and do, which is exercise.
Mm,
I say to all of my clients, I'm like, do exercise, and they're like, sure, Asta, like if that would just be so easy. I'm like, okay, so we talk about strategies, like, if I just tell you like go run, like I run because of my mental health, right? But do I want to do people who like say I exercise and I feel awesome? I'm not one of those, right? I exercise, I grind through it, I feel bad, I go shower, and I'm done, right? So not a fan, but I
yeah.
still have to do it because I don't want to be on meds, right? Somebody said, I don't want to be on medications for anxiety or depression, so that's how I have to manage it. That's part of my life. So that's how we have to look at it. It's like, we get up, we eat, we shower, we have to exercise. It's not a choice. It's a routine and part of the self-care
Mm.
we have to do. And but there are many ways to do it. I have a really good friend, she loves swimming, right? I would be like, oh, I can't, like, right? But for her, she's like excited, she has all of these like things, tubes and whatever goes on her hands and feet. She looks ridiculous, but she feels awesome, right? So as long as you get the endorphins, I'm all good. I'm all game. You can be running, boxing, swimming, any cardio. What we are after is the endorphins.
That's so funny that you mentioned that because I just started picking up swimming myself.
Okay. Do you have
Yeah.
the ridiculous the things on
I
for
do
your?
not yet.
Okay.
Anyways, I just need some goggles because when I went swimming out, my eyes under the water, my eyes were burning for the rest of the day. So I'm gonna go buy some after this show.
Yeah.
But
Go
yeah,
for
no,
it.
I felt it the same thing. I felt great being in there. It was really weird with swimming because it felt like a workout and relaxing at the same time. But it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I agree. I agree that exercise helps. I also understand the perspective of feeling like you have no energy to exercise.
Sure.
That's a very real thing.
Yeah.
I would always refer to it as like this invisible wall where I have tons of creativity and I'm never short of ideas, but I was hitting this wall of actually implementing them or starting things and never seeing them to completion. And that was a big barrier for me that held me back a lot in life from doing a lot of things.
And you see, part of like therapist job, I feel like it's babysitting. Okay, because you come to me and you say I want to exercise, I'll be like, okay, Marcus, let's hit it. Usually I start like put the sneakers on and take for a walk, go for a walk for 15
There you
minutes,
go.
just put the freaking sneakers on, right? That's what we start with.
Yeah.
And then if they can do that, then I say, okay, just get to the pool and swim for 5 minutes. If you're in the pool and swimming for 5 minutes, you're not going to stop, you're going to go longer. But that's
Right.
the trick, tricking yourself, right? But if you come back next week and you say, hey, I promised you I will go swimming and I didn't, I will hold you accountable. And then we
Mhm.
have these conversations about values. Like, what is your value? How are you going to commit to yourself?
Hmm.
So so I think a big part of going to a therapist is accountability part,
Yeah, that's
you
good
know,
for
because
sure.
I mean, other people have these support systems in their life, right? Maybe your wife is keeping you very accountable, or your girlfriend, or your boss,
Hmm.
but sometimes you don't have those people and you need this extra push from your therapist,
Yeah.
you know. So that's like the basic: get people moving, get the endorphins, and exercise. For social anxiety, I kind of start slow. um, if I have somebody who doesn't have good social skills, um, I say, why don't you start being a little bit social? For
Mm.
example, the homework for the week would be, can you give somebody a compliment? Or can you
Wow.
say hi?
Hmm.
Or can you chit chat with the clerk at the grocery store? can you share one little bit piece of yourself with a stranger? So we start really small, just little social interaction.
That's great.
You know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good step in the right direction. Mr. Alvin in the Pit Monks is back. He has a question this time. He said, any daily morning routines that you recommend to do or not to do to help manage anxiety?
Daily morning routines?
Yep.
Well, okay. I have a lot of my social anxiety clients with like who are late to work because so my first of all is get the alarm set 15 minutes earlier to get yourself a cushion, because what happens is you get up at 6 and then you're trying to get ready and you flip-flop around your kitchen, get your coffee ready, and then you drag your feet, and then 6:30 you gotta hurry up because your work starts at 7, and then you're like running behind, and that could cause social anxiety, right? Because you're late and you don't want to get in trouble, you don't want to get fired. So first of all, set an alarm. And actually with people who say, well, I set my alarm and then I procrastinate and then I the jazz, right? So I say, yep, put the alarm in your bathroom, so you have to physically get out and turn off the alarm, and there's nothing to punch by your bed. So that's one. Another one, Alvin, if you have if we know you have anxiety and you drink coffee, I would definitely look into that, because caffeine can induce anxiety. So that's another thing. And then I would say, how about, can you do like a 10 push-ups for me before you go to shower? So little physical activity, not excessive, limit the caffeine, get extra time on time for the to getting to your job. And if you don't have lately I've been seeing people who work from home, they become like kind of slugs. They are working in pajamas, no shower, okay, we know what we're talking about. So I would say you gotta get dressed, you gotta shower, shave your face, put the deodorant on, put the lipstick on, just act as if you would be in the office. Because let me tell you, for people who are working from home, you can get depressed like this. I can give you 2 months. Yep. So
by the way, guess what? I work from home.
Oh no.
Yeah, thankfully a couple months ago we went to a hybrid schedule, so I'm in the office 2 days out of the week now. It definitely helps. It helps getting out, having morning routine, taking the train downtown, being around other people. Being at home can be detrimental after a while.
Yeah, social anxiety, right? I mean, I'm sure the first week that you had to leave your home, it was a little interesting.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Alvin, for your question. We have a few minutes left, so I want to I have a last question here. So instead of somebody suffering themselves from social anxiety or struggling with social anxiety, how can we support a friend or family member with social anxiety?
So, you got to listen to what they want. Different people will want different things, but so being supportive and listening and not giving advice, I feel like, because sometimes we as friends, we are just so willing to give advices, aren't we? And so we need to stop, because sometimes people really know, right? That's why, I think being a therapist, like, I'm not here to give you advice. You know what you need to do. I'm here to motivate you to find underlying causes and like kick your butt to make sure you actually do your homework, right?
There you go.
But advice, nobody needs that. So stop with the advice giving for your friends and listen to what they ask you to do. And a lot of times that just could mean take a walk with me and hold my hand. Or if I'm freaking out in public, can you just hold my hand? Because I just really need to feel somebody physically being there for me. Or can you drive me to the mall so I can go do my exposure exercises as they gave me, right? It could just be that easy.
There you go. Awesome. Great. We have one last question from YouTube, and then we're going to wrap this puppy up. Marlon says, is it strange? I feel more comfortable talking to friends and strangers over family gatherings. I'm fine one-on-one, but not the holiday crowd.
Oh my God, I hear this all the time. People say, the big holiday crowds freak me out. I am scared of talking to just one-to-one. And I say, if somebody comes in and says, I want to be comfortable in holiday crowd, my first question is like, is that realistic? And do you really need that in your life? Right? Some goals, people come in and say like, like a holiday crowd, I want to be a party animal. Like, do you really? Like, can we really, turn you into a party animal?
Yeah.
Is that realistic? Is that your value? Is that what you need?
It's good.
And right. So sometimes just understanding, I feel more comfortable with one-to-one situations, and I don't need to be in the crowd. And if you do need to go to your family gathering and being, in the bigger crowd, I say you find your people and you focus on them, and you don't need to be a clown.
There you go.
It's your personality.
Love it.
So find your people and stick with them. Agreed.
Wonderful. Marlon, hope that answered your question. All right, we are going to wrap this show up. I thank you guys for joining us. I'm going to wrap up with our disclaimer. This show is for informational purposes only. You are completely responsible for what you do with the information presented, and myself and all of our guests cannot be held liable for any misuse or misunderstanding of the information presented. Please always consult a trained mental health professional before making any decisions regarding treatment of yourself and others. Asta, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have any final words for us?
Oh, no, I just want people to know there's hope and you can definitely get out of this. And, there are a lot of people, a lot of therapists who are really good at their job. They know what they're doing. They can really help you. And if you go see somebody, they're not a good fit, just move on and look for somebody else. Because I know sometimes people have a hard time with that, and just there's definitely help out there and you can get better. So
that's great. Asta, you are always welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have the access to the spreadsheet online. So if you see any future episodes, topics that you would like to speak on, or if there's a topic that I didn't list and that you'd like to talk about, please let me know. But we'd love to have you back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I put your website up on the screen, beautifulmindtherapy.com. So if you want to reach out to Asta, that is her website. Again, in the bio of this YouTube video, there is a link to a Google spreadsheet to all the contact information for all of our guest therapists. Please utilize that resource. It is a great resource. Please utilize therapy in your life. There's nothing but good things waiting for you. So please take advantage of it. But thank you guys for being here. Asta, thank you again for being here. We will be back next Thursday, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to discuss another wonderful mental health topic, a therapy topic with another licensed guest. So thank you guys for being here and have a good night. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you.
Work. Watch you do my work. Watch you putting that work. Watch you do my